flowers are dead, brittle and crumbling to the floor of Tamara's tiny studio, but she still isn't ready to throw them out. It's been 2 weeks since she last spoke to Dimitri, and every day she replayed their final argument in her mind. "I love you, but I'm not enough to be with you anymore," he said. Tamara nodded and let the tears slip down her face. She slumped against the sink and grabbed at the toilet paper, dabbing her eyes with the few squares that she managed to tear off. They were in the powder room at a house party somewhere in North York, a semi-suburb north of Toronto. From outside, intermittent Russian and English chatter could be heard over the pounding bass of the house music DJ. A violinist began playing furiously over the music, and muffled cheers of encouragement erupted. They were both drunk, Dimitri more so, giving him the confidence to speak frankly about the elephant that had slowly been stealing all the air out of the room, suffocating them both for quite some time now. "You're not Russian," he said, as if that explained everything. And Tamara supposed that on some level, it did. She put on a brave face. She'd known from the start that this would never be a long-term thing. "It would break my mother's heart," Dimitri said, lighting a cigarette. "And my family, my people, they mean everything to me. If you don't have your family, your culture, then what do you have?" "I get that, but I still think your mother's a bitch." Tamara hadn't meant to say that last part, just kind of fell out of her mouth, like an unexpected rainfall through a flash of thunder. Intoxication made her words loose. Still, she wasn't about to back down. "How can you say that?" Dimitri said. "You don't just go around insulting somebody's mother." "I'm glad you put your racist mother's feelings before my own." Somebody pounded on the door. Boom, boom, boom. "Hey, lovebirds," it was Sasha. "I need to take a piss, so go fuck or snort or whatever the hell it is you're doing somewhere else." Tamara swung the door open. "We're leaving," she said, brushing past Sasha. Then she turned to Dimitri. "Well, I'm leaving." And she marched outside towards Bathurst Street, jumping into a cab before Dimitri could stop her, which she assumed he would. "Which way, miss?" The taxi man had a thick accent, reflective of the neighborhood they were in. "Downtown here." "Ah, young lady, you speak Russian," he said, switching to his mother tongue. "Yes, a bit. Enough. Weird for a Caribbean girl, eh?" Tamara beat him to his own thoughts. "It is strange, yes. You have Russian boyfriends." Taxi man was getting personal. I had a Russian boyfriend. Not anymore. Tamara had met Dimitri at a party, not unlike the one they just attended, thrown by a friend of a friend. Tamara had never dated a white guy before, let alone a straight-off-the-boat Russian. "How's the white boy with the funny name?" her mother would ask, always amused. "That's why you speak very good Russian," the taxi man said, more to himself. "Yeah, that's why." Tamara was too exhausted, her brain too muddled, to explain that she was minoring in Russian literature at university. The next day, Tamara opened the door and found Dimitri on the stoop of her apartment. "Come on," he said, "we're going for brunch." Tamara grabbed her jacket and followed him to his car, a Beamer, slick and dark blue, shimmering in the sunlight. He came around to open her door, and he stood there silent. On the passenger seat laid a dozen roses, red, her favorite. They went to a Greasy Spoon in Hyde Park that made the best pierogies. This was one of their two usual spots, the other being a Jamaican diner on Eglinton West, where the roti was extra soft, and the server eyed Dimitri with curiosity while serving Tamara extra doubles with a motherly squeeze of the shoulder. Tamara craved doubles in that moment. "So the other night, I was drunk, fucked up. I'm sorry," he said. "It's okay," Tamara responded, poking at the steaming potatoes inside of her pierogies. She focused on her food, away from his gaze. "Aren't you going to apologize?" "For what?" "For insulting my mother." Tamara sighed. Insulting somebody's mother outside of "yo mama" jokes was unthinkable. But his mother was the barrier between them, preventing their mutual obsession from spilling over. Tamara resented it, and she resented him for not standing up for her, even though deep down, she knew he never would. "I'm sorry," Tamara said, meeting his eyes. "I would never ask you to go against your mother or your family." And she meant it. "I want to keep seeing you," he said. She blinked, surprised. "What's the point?" He shrugged. "I don't know, Dima," she said, calling him by his diminutive name for the first time since that party. "I do love you. You're so good, so smart," he said. And he took her hands from across the table and covered them with his own. They felt rough. "Please," he said. "I'll have to think about it." That afternoon, instead of dropping her off, he followed her inside, where they made love until dark. And she hasn't seen or spoken to him since then, ignoring his calls until they stopped altogether. And now she stares at the dead bouquet on her dresser, the dry, brittle roses whose petals fall to the floor one by one like tears. Emo.